Hey. Well, it's the end of a BAPCO Critical Communications Europe. So it's been a busy 2 days. So what I wanted to do is just share some observations from the event. This may be a little less technical than a lot of the content that you see on this great YouTube channel. But it'll just be some observations, some reflections that I have from a really productive 2 days of engagement with government officials as well as ecosystem suppliers out there serving the critical communications space. Well, one of the things that really stood out in the last 2 days were the updates from major government agencies. We had a presentation from Germany. Dr. Held gave a review of the progress that Germany is making towards taking advantage of mobile broadband for critical communications, in particular mission critical communications to serve the law enforcement, fire service, and emergency medical service across Germany. The important announcement that Barbara brought to the meeting yesterday was the initiation of a pilot trial and test. It's not a full-blown trial like we are familiar with in the mobile environment with a massive deployment. This is more going to be an experiment to determine if the hybrid network approach that Germany anticipates becoming the model for Germany is feasible. So as a reminder, Germany is considering a layered cake approach for mission critical LTE, which includes, if possible, allocation of 450 megahertz spectrum, the existing spectrum that the 7 megahertz of spectrum that they have allocated beyond that, as well as partnership with the mobile operators to supplement the BD-BOS capabilities in the future. They need to look at the devices and the network capabilities that are out there and see if that model can work. We also had an update from the United States. So Ed Parkinson came over and gave a review of where we stand now in the United States FirstNet deployment. And, of course, what's exciting there is that FirstNet is real. The contract has been in place now for more than a year. And we have a large number of subscribers actually on the AT&T network that is running the FirstNet capabilities. So certainly encouraging to hear. Finally, today, there was a very important update from the United Kingdom's ESN program. So Brian Clark, the ESN program director, came and reviewed the progress to date. Admittedly, a slower progress than I think the Home Office would have liked, but an important step has been reached, and that is a clear-headed review of where they are in the advancement of the program has been completed. And a pragmatic approach is now in place to move to the next step. And I would expect that 2019 is going to be a very busy year with these initial capabilities making their way into the hands of first responders in the United Kingdom. And by the end of the summer in 2020, some significant capabilities actually will be operational. I think this is an important and actually a realistic step forward. And it's important because it starts to build trust with the end users that are looking to improve the communications they have, perhaps not looking for a flash cut from the existing very capable Tetra solution that Airwave has to LTE, but something, a solution that has a promise of voice support later, but can bring immediate benefits now with robust data capabilities. So these program updates were incredibly informative and just great to hear. On the exhibition floor, more broadly, this was there were a lot of topics addressed by vendors exhibiting in the stand. So we saw everything from antennas to combiners to control room solutions from the major control room providers, just a wide range of capabilities. Looking forward, so let's break this down into three areas. So data capabilities, enabling, say, ESN, as well as in other nations, Verve 2.0 up in Finland, new networks in France, a network that I hear is starting to emerge in Spain. These are LTE networks, these are data-forward networks, and one of the exhibitors on the floor with a very major presence was Ericsson, which was highlighting its new critical communications solution that it's bringing to market. It's a comprehensive approach that addresses a full range of options, starting from everything is owned by an end user. So, and a mine company would be an example of this, where the mine wants to have business critical communications kept locally on the mine. They need edge platforms that terminate the core network of a mobile network, and they need radio assets. Spectrum gets leased from a mobile operator, or perhaps a national regulator has made it available. Well, the other end of the spectrum is where the mobile operator, a national mobile operator, provides everything to an agency. And in this continuum, there are many different possibilities, and Ericsson has shrewdly laid out what these capabilities are that could be addressed by both their portfolio for critical communications as well as their professional services and managed services capabilities. What's distinctive here is that they've added mission critical push to talk that is Release 13 compliant, and that was really the trigger point for them to bring this entire portfolio wrapped together as a complete solution and launching it into the market in the lead up to Mobile World Congress. And so it was great to see it at Critical Communications Europe and BAPCO. The leadership of this business unit at Ericsson came and told the story about what they were doing. So beyond networks, we had some very interesting solutions out there from vendors with other capabilities. One example is Cradlepoint, another Sierra Wireless, both with mobile routers that can handle multiple network interfaces. Now this goes into the vehicles out there that are deployed. Another example of deployable is a capability by Parallel Wireless. And Parallel Wireless it's not data specific. Parallel brings an entire base station, a little bit more than a base station. It's also a core network bundled together into a very tight form factor. And what was exciting about this is that ESN, with the partner EE, operator partner that's delivering the network, kitted out a standard police vehicle that was apparently pulled from duty, and a parallel wireless ensemble was added in the rear of the car. And this vehicle is used for tests. Folks tell me they took it into the BT tower and used it as a hotspot from the bottom of the tower and blasted a signal up. And I believe they said it went to about like 7 to 10 floors up above the car park. And it provided an example of how a deployable system augmenting the macro coverage area can punch in RF coverage with ESN where it's needed. What's very exciting to me is that this vehicle, it is an asset of the local first responder agency. In this case, say Met, the Met Police. And that can be dispatched. So it can be in a computer-aided dispatch system as a resource and gets dispatched on an incident or when an incident commander requests it. And it shows the flexibility of the deployment that we have here. So that was certainly exciting to see. Another important platform that I saw was Tate, which has delivered a remarkable capability to transport for London, supplying thousands of buses in London with a DMR platform And I think this is just absolutely amazing. So they have a DMR radio that goes into a vehicle, and a very, very thin shim that gets added where the front of the unit is, contains an LTE modem, optionally, Wi-Fi capability, a full Linux system. And so in the vehicle, they have an entire platform for applications to be hosted, showing passenger information, interacting with the dispatchers. It's just the imagination is the only limit with that. So on the data front, some fantastic capabilities that were on the exhibition floor. Looking back to devices, we had on the floor, obviously, a lot of ESN focus, and Samsung pulled out all the stops to show their latest wares that they're bringing for critical communications in the UK, as well as globally. They are a global company. So they had a Galaxy S10 that they were showing, which had been adapted to the needs of the UK emergency forces. And so this device put a large push-to-talk button, made sure there was an emergency button, relocated the power button so it wouldn't accidentally shut off. And then, so you end up with a form factor that's just a very, very useful package for the work that patrol forces are doing out on the streets. And of course, you couple that with the amazing Motorola Pronto application, which seems to be the bedrock of mobile office mobility for the UK law enforcement organizations, and you have a very compelling package. What is, I think, really interesting about the Samsung device offer is that they have worked hard to get devices to collaborate effectively as a family. And so they have platforms, they have a DeX, which is a mechanism where they can dock and operate other screens, keyboards, other very lightweight computing devices, can take on the personality of the DeX device that comes in. So a patrol officer can actually bring their computing resource in their pocket and get it put into a platform where it's the most comfortable to operate, where they have the most useful user interface. Because face it, a smartphone screen, has its limits as to what you can do with it. And Samsung has exploded those limits by providing these different form factors. I think in the UK this expression is horses for courses. If you're a patrol officer and you're just doing a ticket for a road infraction, well, that's a small effort. But if you're a patrol officer and you're required to write a 250, 500-word statement on a major crime, perhaps that's something where you want to go back to your station house, go to the writing desk, and in a more comfortable environment, produce your report. Well, why change computers? With the Samsung Ensemble, they keep the same computer, they just move to a more appropriate work surface. So, extremely interesting. It does a really nice job of kind of tying together the benefits of the ESN system, mobility, and the net result is you keep your emergency workers out in the field where they can actually deliver service, as opposed to requiring them to come back to a station for every time you have to write something up. No, they can carry their office with them and then pick the right platform, the right location to conduct the documentation exercise. Finally, it's important to look at the Tetra equipment and devices that were on display. Tetra remains a foundational element of mission-critical communications around the world. As much as I like to see mission-critical LTE take over the world, realistically, we're a long ways from that. Germany, Dr. Held was very clear to say, we expect this to be around until 2030. This is a long-term commitment. The UK has made a similar decision, and a refresh was held recently for the Metropolitan Police, and Sephora, with their new SC21 Tetra device handset, are now able to replace an aging fleet of portables that constables have been using, and they now get the benefits of improved electronics that go into the device, which should result in longer battery time. It's a lighter device. It should be better coverage, better RF coverage for the constable that's out on the street with that Tetra system. Motorola continues to innovate with its portfolio. They've added a body-worn camera, the SI200, that works well with the rest of their traditional Tetra ensemble. The remote speaker mics with body-worn camera integrated, the SI100, as well as the Lex devices that they've had. Motorola takes a very different approach than some of the other vendors for combining data and voice. They've taken a philosophy that it's important to have data devices that do a very effective job of presenting data information, and then voice devices that do a great job with voice, and they provide linkages between the two so that you can have synergy rather than embracing an all-in-one. In contrast, Airbus, Hytera have great all-in-one solutions that they've brought to market, and Airbus continues its program to encourage developers to put together software that can be standard Android software, be entered into a certification program that Airbus runs to ensure that this software is secure and can be trusted. And once into that program, it now is available for deployment across an agency's footprint. So voice, it remains important. We don't see, big flash bangs of innovation, but we do see the constant pace of improvement, even on these what are so-called legacy solutions. These are solutions that actually have path to the future and will continue to be important. To wrap up, the BAPCO Critical Communications Europe event is an important demonstration of the partnership between very different organizations. TCCA, which has been the Tetra Communities Association for decades, linking arms with British APCO, the group that represents the stakeholders that bring critical communications in service of the first responders of the UK. By entering into that partnership, they've provided for a very, very rich environment for discussion, both on the program tracks and in the vendor hall. But it went beyond that, because we had the international organizations there from the US, from Europe, and they formed a new group, an international operators group, to further progress in setting requirements for the marketplace. We'll see exactly what that vision is. They've only just met, only just formed. I am looking forward to hearing from this group as they set their agenda for going forward. It's been a great 2 days. We're just wrapping it up here, and I think now it's time to catch an airplane and head back to the United States. Thank you, Britain. Thank you, Europe.